In this episode, I want to call upon people close to Raila to come forward and explain his uniqueness. By uniqueness, I don't want them to explain the Agwambo. By Agwambo, I mean we had people who believed that he was an angel and so on and so forth. There are those people who, some even went to an extent of saying that if Raila told a man that you'll give birth, the first thing the man does is not it's not to question. The question that will come to the man's mind is not to question Raila as to how a man can deliver a child, but the first question will be, where do I get the diapers? So there are those people who believed that he was subhuman. I also understand when they don't explain very close matters. There are some very close matters that even people who think that I disclose a lot of government, there are some areas I don't touch, one. So I also understand when they don't explain some very close matters. That goes with that. Nobody knows that more than me. Matters of state, you see, even being just a simple driver to Agwambo, you know a lot of government secrets. Matters of personal in nature. Matters of personal in nature, I would tell you that G Company, that guards State House during Kenyatta's time, used to tell us, not during Kenyatta's time, during Moi's time, they used to tell us that Moi would come to the gate. After small, you'll just see him coming, comes to the gate, talks to each and every one of you. Habari, how is home? Family namna gani? Watoto wako namna gani? He would even give. But by the way, Moi would never believed in leaving you empty-handed. And then he'll give you the number plate of a vehicle that is coming. The vehicle is tinted. He'll say that that vehicle, when it comes, it should not be inspected. Comes and goes through. So that vehicle comes, but the G Company, even though they don't, they wave it on, they'll notice that there's a woman there, and she's heavily dressed. Heavily dressed, I'm trying to say, is that she's trying to conceal her identity. Now, when women put on a lot of clothes, it's a bit hard to. You'll just know it is a woman. You'll not know whether she's fat, she's thin, she's anything, whatever. But they would know that the vehicle would drop that lady, and then later on, the same vehicle again will come without being inspected, and it will just enter that place, pick the woman, and go. We used to know this because, as intelligence officers, it was our duty. As intelligence officers, we were duty to monitor that, because that was a quagmire. Supposing the driver drops the lady and then comes back with a bomb, and then the bomb blows inside the State House. So there are some things those close to Raila may not talk. Matters of state, matters of personal nature, such and such things, like I've said uh, about State House. So far, I have watched only 3 interviews on YouTube, and I gained a lot. I can tell you, I gained tremendous information from it. If we can get just a dozen such people, if you can get a dozen people who surrounded Raila, we can understand a lot, and we can understand him a lot, can understand Raila a lot. Just listening to his long-term driver, spokesman, that is Mr. Dennis Onyango, and Honorable Farouk Bet, you learn a lot. If I were the coach who chooses the starting lineup, like in a football, I would recommend various thematic angles. I would recommend various thematic angles, whereby those access those people who interview them, they go and interview with a certain theme, theme. Like now, I think, was it the spokesman who said Raila's favorite food, Raila's favorite music, those things are important. Let us not just concentrate on things that are political. As we have just seen, the driver tells us how he was recruited by Raila, confirming what I have long along suspected, that Raila himself recruits the individual whom he can trust with his life. You know, some other senior people just either they have a recruiting agent or they have people they rely on. Say, can you look for me for a driver? Can you look for me for a but Raila chooses, and not only chooses, he interviews the person himself. It is also good to understand that someone whom he will work for decades, if not years. You find that after doing that, when Raila is recruiting such people, he has in mind with people whom they will work together for quite a long time. Look at those people who are talking. The spokesman says that he started working with him in 2008, meaning he has worked for him. This is 2025. That is, he has worked with him for 17 years without leave or something. And then the bodyguard who died recently also had worked for decades without going on leave or anything. So you find the type of people he will work for decades, if not years. The driver said something very important, that when Raila was made the prime minister, he went for his personal staff. He went for his personal staff. Take the case of the late bodyguard. Take the case of the late bodyguard, Gabriel. The security officers, the security officer seconded to Raila did not replace his security, but took instructions from Raila's long-term bodyguard. When these people were brought in by Rec Company, being told that you are now to guard the prime minister, they were instructed that they were to take orders. They were to take orders from Raila's long-term bodyguard. I remember early in 2003 at Mwenge House along Oleodume Road, the private security of the VIPs, once these VIPs, including Kibaki, once those VIPs took over, their security was taken over by GSU, and they lost contact with the VIPs and would spend hours at Mwenge House in storytelling. I used to go there. We could spend the whole day discussing, and people we spend time. You find them. Uh, you know. I could tell them what happened to that roadblock at. I think before that time I had not even known them, but I remembered the pictures. I saw you in the newspaper when the police tried to stop Kibaki at the pan paper roadblock, and then they would say, "Oh, whatever, whatever." What I'm trying to say is here is that after NAC took over, from Moi, a new security team was brought in to all those people. Name them. They were given GSU Rec Company, mostly GSU. They were given GSU, and then their private security that they have been having and whatever, they placed them aside. Then you lose a job without a termination letter, without retirement benefit, without whatever, so that you go to Mwenge House, and those people whom you used to fix, this personal security are very useful at times. They'll tell you when Agwambo is in a mood to talk, when he's not in a mood to talk, when there are people there, whatever. So you find that after NAC took over, this private security now used to stay there gumzo, gumzo, and those people whom they used to assist to gain to the nini, they would now come and give them handouts. But Raila, he kept uh, he kept his security, private security. And if the government brings in anybody, imagine Raila as a prime minister, his security, I think, was headed by a senior superintendent from GSU. But when they came to Gadi, he told them that they have to get instructions from Gabriel. Is it Gabriel? The bodyguard who died recently. Get instructions from him. So a GSU, not any other police officer, GSU, senior superintendent, getting instructions from a police reservist of an inspector's rank. You now get what I'm saying. Now let's move on. Maybe in future, his driver and other close quarter servants would elaborate on Raila the person. Raila the person. Let them not elaborate on Raila the enigma. Let them elaborate on a person. Si alikufa, he died, so it shows that he's a human being like you or me. Hmm? The driver said of how he would drive out of a cul-de-sac situation. Remember in the interview, he was talking of how the whole place would be covered, and you see there's tear gas, there is whatever. I think there is even a picture of a police officer shooting, not a gun, but a tear gas gangster into the vehicle that Raila is in. And in that vehicle, according to my calculation, listening to what the driver said, I think there were three in a vehicle. There was that bodyguard who died recently. There was Raila, and there was the driver. So he talks on how Raila would be encouraging him, utatoka kwa hii situation, and how the late bodyguard would be watering him, watering him. That tense situation. He took us to that. This is a driver. I want to share this feeling with you. I want to share with you. Maybe my feelings may be a bit different because I'm a security expert, but I want to share these feelings with you. Raila is somebody, 1 minute he's in State House. The next minute is mixing with the people in the slums of Kibera. 1 minute, all the provincial police officers are saluting him. Another minute, he's trying to enter the parliament, and an inspector tells him, when in nani usiingie. And he's going there. He's trying to tell the inspector in charge, kubalia huyu aingie, kubalia huyu aingie, kubalia. So those people close to him are the best people who can tell us how he could change from one situation to another situation, which it may take us, for example, if I'm in one position, changing to the other, maybe it will take me at least 5 years, but to him it takes 5 minutes, where he's 1 minute with the VVIPs, the next minute is with slum dwellers effortlessly. The driver also talks how Raila would be encouraging him, as I said, and the late bodyguard would be watering him, and how that picture, when he talks, you get that feeling, you get as if you are there, and that is what we want to see. Everyone in Raila's group was important. Supposing the car stuck, you have had the vehicle failures and whatever. Suddenly you try to nini, and you see with a vehicle, the engine running and whatever, you can run away. But then the driver, that tends me. I don't know whether you're trying to imagine. And again, remember, we have had cases where when Raila and the group are running away from riot police, we have had even cases where vehicles have hit protesters or something. This particular driver had never hit any person. And when Raila's vehicle come, that is the center of, what do you call, center of attention. That is how everybody would rush to that vehicle. Everybody would want to be near. And that driver was, I think he should be given OGW, Order of the Grand Warrior, moving out that other vehicles in the convoy could hit people, but he had never hit any person. Now imagine 1,000 of things, ideas simultaneously going through the driver's head when there is such a thing. Same applies to security team. Same applies to his protocol people and whatever. And that is why I repeatedly say that we should have a situation where these people are interviewed, and if possible, they even write books about that. Forget about the philosophy or philosophy of this. No, just working with Raila from a bodyguard's aspect from. You remember, there's a time even when he was entering Nyayo Stadium, and the police were very quick. They timed his bodyguard, and just as he had entered, this bodyguard was grabbed and whatever. So we would really want to know the thousands of ideas that are simultaneously going through the staff's mind. Hmm? Then there is this short interview with Franklin Bett. I gained a lot. I imagine it is centered on the day that the 2007 general elections were read out by Kivyutu. Franklin Bett talks about how Raila went to KICC, how they were evicted by GSU, how Raila went to KICC, how the Raila team were evicted from KICC. He adds that he was manhandled by the GSU for the first time on that day. You know, he was shocked. He was shocked. I have a close relative, first cousin, whom we once went to a place easy nini inatengenezwa. He was wondering, kwani hii nyama hii kuchomwa vizuri mpaka inatoka damu. So you find that some people, they have lived in certain lifestyle that if you take them to the slums and whatever, to the kiosks and whatever, he or she is very shocked. Kumbe kuna watu wanaishi. So that is how Franklin Bett was shocked that he himself could be manhandled by GSU. He talks of how at KICC they were evicted by the GSU, and he said that that was the first time GSU was handling. Remember, he used to be the deputy state house controller, and later on he became the actual state house controller. Now that this is somebody, I think up to 5 different GSU companies. We have the presidential escort and whatever. They were all at, and then he found himself to be a nobody. Just like I said, those people whom are rich people, and then they go to slums and wonder. They wonder why, when they are in the house, they see a rat going diagonally from one direction to another, and on the wall there is a lizard. So these people get confused, like, why is such things happen? Franklin Bett also tells us that after being evicted from KICC, how the other agents, because if it is evicting, one would expect everybody to be evicted, both sides, isn't it? But he tells us how after being evicted from KICC, the other agents, in Mother Karua and whatever, were safely directed elsewhere within KICC. He goes further to tell us where they went next, and which was Pentagon House. From there, he also confirms what people have been saying, that Ruto on their side was the headliner. But as I've said, whenever there is anything of that nature, the headliners are usually sent by the boss, so that ukiona we are giving in too much, you become a headliner. Franklin Bett also goes to tell us how the news came, that of the election results. He tells us Raila spent 10, 12, or even 15 minutes bowing down silently. He even tells us of the atmosphere in the Pentagon House. and the clashes that spontaneously happened around the country, and he goes ahead to believe that they were not planned. Then comes the king of the cake. Then comes the icing of the cake. That is Dennis Onyango. Dennis Onyango, we have seen him for a few occasions. Yeah, we have seen him for a few occasions. But I can tell you that even if we have seen him for a few occasions, we have never uh, had a conversation with him. And personally, if I were to meet him along the street, I would not know him. So Dennis comes up, but how many of us know his voice? How many of us know his voice? Very few people. By voice, I mean there are some people when you're walking around and you listen to a radio talking, you just know that is so and so without even seeing the TV to confirm it is him. And when you watch the TV, you'll know that it is that person. In his interview, Dennis Onyango tells us how the messaging was done, how the challenges he had. I loved the way he presented the challenges that he had as the press officer. He could call a press conference, and when the press was around, he would call Raila for the press conference, and Raila would be shocked. And Raila would ask him, "Is there a press conference doing about what?" Uh, Dennis Onyango also tells us how he prepares press conference with various options, because whenever he used to call a press conference, there are occasions that things may overtake him, and the press conference may not be there, or it may be there, but before the journalist would come, new events would come up to an extent that what he was to what was to be the topic of that day is not uh, is not to be covered. Something else new has come, so he used to make sure that he would not tell the journalist what the press conference was about. Just say it's an important meeting, but come expecting Mzee to be very busy. There are even occasions when Raila may have forgotten that there is a press conference. He may even have forgotten the topic to be covered. Uh, or even certain issues would happen so as to change the venue. For example, Raila would tell him that we are going to have a press conference in the next 1 hour. So Onyango and the press team calls all the media houses to be there in 1 hour. And they say that, I think is the both of them, they said that Raila was addicted to mobile phone. Every time he would talk and whatever. So before the 1 hour was over, he would have talked to various people. He would talk to various people. And when he talked to various people, um, he would even change his mind. I remember when these two gentlemen were asked who best could guess about Raila's way of thinking, everybody appears to agree on one person outside the family. Everybody appears to agree on one person, that is Junet Mohammed. So they may have discussed something, and even before the press comes, the topic has changed. So that when now they are going to have the press conference, it may include new facts, it may exclude old facts, etc., etc. Raila appeared to know his days were over. That is what Dennis Onyango said, because he said not because of the sickness or anything, but it reached a stage where Raila took actions. It's not a case of somebody being very sick for very long, but his line of talking and his line of thinking and his line of reasoning had changed towards the last few years. where he would say, he would tell people and tell them, when I'm gone, you can emphasize on this, you can emphasize on that. He even took Dennis Onyango to Germany, where he took an effort because people were trying to say that he's a lab assistant. He's a lab assistant who says that he was a lecturer in Nairobi University. He felt that the Dennis Onyango, it is something that people, elderly people, when they start talking, you may not notice it, but when they are gone, you say, kumbe, it's like he knew. So I want to emphasize here that according to Dennis Onyango, it is not that the sickness made him that, no, but the way he was talking normally, one would believe that he was now trying to clear a few things. That he took Dennis Onyango up to Germany, showed him the school he went to, showed him whatever, whatever. So that one is okay because Dennis Onyango has committed himself that he's going to write a book about it. He says that he made clarifications and he went and confirmed. He says everything in Germany is intact. Everything in Germany is intact except one thing. Except one thing where he says that there is the roll of honors. There is a roll of honors. Each year, the best student. Each year, this year, so and so was the best student. And there was the vice chancellor was saying that that roll of honor was there, but when the university was being expanded, that wall was brought down. But him having worked there for a long time, he knew that there was an Raila Odinga. There was a Raila Odinga who had performed very well. So he was even surprised. So you are the Raila Odinga. That is how it is that he appeared to have known his days are over. Personally, I would want the 12 or less people to write a book each on Raila the person. A day with, or even a day with Raila. As for holidays, I would tell those people that if you have the next 4 years or 48 months as holiday, it's okay, because working like this one who been working with Raila for since 2008 without leave, I think 4 years is enough. Then he says that after that he will think of what next step to do. I think they deserve that, whatever. I also think somehow, I don't know whether it will be an Arambe or anything. We should look at how they'll earn their living from now on, because well, they can rest, they can go back and whatever. There are even some, if it were me, there are even some who would just want after that just to go home and stay home until they wait the day when they'll be called by the Lord. There are those who want to still start working. There are those who want. So I think there should be a way where they'll be looked into and issues be addressed. Personally, I would say two things. I've already recorded a video where KTN thought that I influenced Raila and Kibaki. So when there's a day, I think there is a video that of that effect. You can see that. But then there is also this other occasion when I met Ojwang. Ojwang was my junior in Mandera. He was we in our class, not in our class, in our office. There were three form sixes. There was me, Inspector Tanui, and Ojwang. But Ojwang was not yet an inspector. So Ojwang, we there's a time I talked to him and I told him what to advise Raila when Raila was the prime minister. But Ojwang was changed the topic and took me to shopping and whatever. So maybe if I can get Ojwang, I can ask him now. Can you? Maybe you feared discussing about working with Raila. Now that he's dead, maybe those people should come out and maybe tell us uh, how life was, the good, the bad, the normal days working with Raila or under Raila. God bless you. God bless Kenya.